Hey guys, it's Jalen. Welcome back. I'm here today to do my update for Pan Palette. This is a project that was originally created by Lady Pansalot over on Instagram. I originally was inspired to start this project by Paula at A Beauty Guru made me do it. I will leave both their channel informations, well, Paula's channel information down below and then Lady Pansalot Instagram handle information down below. That was a mouthful. For this project, the goal is to try to hit pans in our palettes, and I have a lot of palettes. And I actually have 2 palettes I can roll out this month. And no, one of them is not the Natasha Denona Peak palette. But that is my palette of focus. I'm going to do it. Amhara, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you, Amhara. No, but let me share with you the palettes that I did hit pan on. Okay. Oh, before I forget, I'm also going to update you guys, and I keep forgetting to do this. I have forgotten to do this in past videos on my Baby Pan That palette, as well as how I'm doing on the Modern Renaissance palette. I've been meaning to do that for like the past 2 months, and I keep forgetting. So I'll do that at the end of this video. Oh, hold on. So the palettes I am working on right now, backtrack. When I originally started this project, I was working on 5 palettes at a time. And then last month I decided to, crazily, I'm a crazy person. I decided to bring in 3 additional palettes, like completely random. And because what I normally do is I have palettes that are randomly picked for me via a website called Wheel Names where I have all of my palettes loaded, but I always pick the shadow. So this last month I went ahead and brought in 3 palettes and had Pretty Random app pick the shadow that was in the palette randomly as well. So I actually have 5 palettes where I pick the shadow and then 3 palettes where the shadow is randomly picked for me. I'm a crazy person. But let me share with you the 8 palettes that I'm working on. The first palette is the Marc Jacobs Provocateur palette. The Huda Beauty Amethyst Obsessions palette. The Natasha Denona Peak palette. It's not the Amhara palette. And these are the ones where I picked the shadows. The Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette. And the Colored Rain Queen of Hearts palette. And the 3... No, I'm sorry, I have one more. I went ahead and pulled in an additional palette, a 6 palette, because I I'm going to finish, or I'm going to hit pan in that Provocateur palette. So I brought in the Urban Decay Urban Spectrum eyeshadow palette. Now, the 3 that were where the shadow was randomly chosen for me, the Viseart Petite Pro II palette. That's a very exciting palette to look at. The Lime Crime Venus 3 palette. And lastly, the Urban Decay Naked Cherry palette. Okay, now let me show you the 2 palettes that I hit pan on. The first one. Now this one, I was like, I'm going to hit pan to like 2 uses. No, it took a lot more than 2 uses. This is a stubborn palette. The Marc Jacobs Provocateur palette. Oh my gosh, this took forever. But I finally did it. There we go. Finally hit pan in Say It. Is that focused? These are so hard to show because like it doesn't fold back. The mirror doesn't fold back, so my camera does not like to, it likes to focus on the closest thing. Anyway, I hit pan on it. Can you guys see? There it is. You can see the pan. Hopefully I'm not blinding you. It's there. The pan is there. It took forever. And there's a big old dip in this shadow. Finally, c'est la vie. Done. Okay, the next palette that I hit pan on is this guy, the Huda Beauty Amethyst Obsessions palette. I was really working on this one too. Like, it was anytime I used Amhara, I pretty much exclusively used this shadow as well. And so I did hit pan in Fuchsia Shimmer. You can see it's a pretty big sized pan too. It was like I was using it and then poof, there was this giant pan in there. So yeah, huge pan. So yeah, 2 palettes with pan. So we will select one new palette because, like I said, I did bring in an extra palette last month thinking I was going to hit pan and say it in like 2 uses or something. And then it took me like almost the entire month. But let me share with you how I'm doing on the rest of these before we pick our new palette. Okay, so let's first look at how Amhara is going in the Natasha Denona Peak palette. And I do feel like I'm getting close. As you can see, there's a nice looking divot in this shadow. I'm feeling pretty good about that. And now I have used Thorn, which is this middle shade, a couple of times too. But Amhara's looking pretty good. I mean, there's a nice... Now, I don't know how deep it is, you know? I mean, it could be super deep. These are 5 gram... Isn't that what I said before? 2.5 grams. Not 5 grams. 2.5 gram eyeshadows. 0.05 ounces. 0.08. Most eyeshadows are 0.03. Oh my gosh. Maybe I'm not close. Anyway, that's my focus shadow right now. I may be getting tired. I may start getting tired of it pretty soon. But this is going to be one of the palettes that I take with me on my vacation. I'm probably going to take this and my Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Luxury Palette and Pillow Talk and like combine these two because I feel like that's a good combination. And like Froze, like it may be like a look that I do every single day. I don't know. Okay, next up is the the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette. And I'm working on Peach Punch. Wow, I cannot speak. I am so sorry. This one right here. So I don't really have it. It doesn't look like I've used it, you know, right? It doesn't really look like I've used it, but I have. But I hear this is very tightly packed, and I hear that it is. I know it took Danny forever to finally hit pan in this. These have 0.04 ounces. So bigger than a normal, you know, like a normal MAC shadow. And I mean, like, tightly packed. And I have not been swatching, so let me do that. All right, there's that shade. And let me get Amhara on. Get a nice big old swatch. All right, there's Amhara. So that is Peach Punch. And guys, I don't have the bandwidth to keep track of how many uses. I wish I did. Okay, next up we have the Colored Rain Queen of Hearts palette. And this one, I'm working on Royal Highness, which is down here. And I do have a nice dip going in Royal Highness, as you can see. So I have used this several times. This is a really beautiful eyeshadow. It's a little bit crumbly, but it's still really pretty. I mean, we'll just give her a pass because she's gorgeous. And the last shadow that I have where I picked the shade is from the Urban Decay Urban Spectrum eyeshadow palette. If I can center it in frame. And the shadow that I picked from here is Junkie, which is this one here. And I've definitely used this at least a couple of times. Now, from what it says on the back here, these are large eyeshadows. It's 0.05 ounces. And I'm like, really? In these like skinny pans? I was doing my eyeshadow inventory video and I noticed that and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. When I was editing, I was like, oh no. So here is the shade. This is beautiful. Now, it's an old palette, so it's a little bit crumbly, which may be in my favor later. But look at that shadow. Oh my gosh. Oh. And it actually is beautiful with Amhara. If you pair it with a like lighter blue or green, it's really pretty. Okay, so those are the 4 that I have picked. And then the 3 that were randomly chosen for me. The first from the Venus 3 palette, the Lime Crime Venus 3 palette. So the first one is this one here, Heavenly. So I've definitely, as you can tell, used this as well. This is very beautiful. It's like a silvery, purpley gold shadow. Hi, Milo. Hi. I wonder if I can scooch him over. Will you come over this way? So we can see your pretty face. Hi. So it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, like, it's a taupey, pinky shade, I guess. It's really gorgeous. Yeah. So I have used it. I haven't used it a ton, but I have used it. And it's a little flaky, but like I said, like with this one, we will give her a pass. Then we have the Viseart Petite Pro II. And I randomly got this purple matte shadow here. And I do have this on my eyes. It's like in the very, very outer corner of my eye. So right next to, well, that's not in this project. But yeah, right in the outer portion of my eye. Oh, and am I wearing Amhara today? Hold on. Oh! Where did that come from? How long has that been there? We just... I don't know how long it's been there. Okay, anyway, the purple. This one here. This is very tightly packed in here. So I think this is the palette that Paula at a Beauty Guru is panning, and this is a very tightly packed shadow. It's a bit, I mean, it doesn't swatch well. I mean, I just tried swatching it and it swatches like poo. Let me grab a packing brush. I'm just going to grab a packing brush. Just swatch it. Because it really doesn't. It swatches terribly. And I really have to be honest, like usually I really do like Viseart shadows. And I'd be interested to go look and see what Tim Talia rated this shadow. Because I don't think it's a very good purple. I should say it builds well on itself, but you really have to keep building. Anyway, there it is. I mean, it's like a really great tone, and it's not an in-your-face purple. I feel like it's a versatile purple. I feel like that's how I would like to describe it. I feel like you can use it with burgundy looks, with brown looks, with purple looks, you know. I think it's a versatile purple, but it doesn't, I mean, it swatches like crapola. And it's tightly packed in there. Anyway, I have used it a bunch, but you can't tell that I really used it. Wait, where am I going here? you can't tell that I really used it, but I've used it a bunch in my outer corner. And usually whenever I'm using a shadow in my outer corner, I'm using a brush like this size. So I'm like digging, you know, I'm doing a lot more of the burrowing than I do when I use like a crease shade and I'm using a big fluffy brush, or when I'm using even a metallic and I use a packing brush like this. Like this gets more real estate than that other brush does. And like I said, you can hardly tell that I have even done anything in there. So that one's probably going to be in here for a long time. Okay, last shadow is in the Urban Decay Naked Cherry palette. And I'm using Juicy. So it is this one here. And I think you can tell there is a little bit of a dip there, you know? Now, historically, naked palettes, and you can even tell on the side, I'm sorry, I just interrupted myself. I feel like you can see on the side the dip. So I've been using it. I'm going straight in the middle. Urban Decay palettes in general are very densely packed, very similar to kind of Too Faced palettes. And this is no exception. It's very similar in that regard. I've also used a couple, like I think at least one other shadow, or at least a couple of other shadows in this palette since I've had it out. So I've used, I think, like these two once, and I've used Privacy as well. Sorry for the glare. And it just depends on the look that I've, had. If I've needed a shadow like that. Anyway, so you can tell that I've used it. I really like it as a first crease shade when I go in with Amhara. And I actually do like to mix it with Amhara as well to make Amhara not so orange. I like to use Amhara, Juicy, and the shade from the Too Faced palette together. Anyway, let me give you a swatch of this one. Well, it's a crumbly shade, a crumbly swatch on my finger. Anyway, there it is. It's a nice shade. So that's my palette currently. Very fall, warm, heavy. I feel like we need to spice it up a bit. Okay, so let me grab my iPad and we will pick our next palette. All right, you ready? I'm ready. What do we get? Viseart Petite Pro II, the Soleil palette. Okay, that one is a bright palette. Okay, let me go grab that and I'll be right back. Very exciting. Okay. You guys ready to see this one? Oh my gosh. I'm not picking the yellow. I'm telling you that right now. Let me just, the two that I'm not going to pick this bland cream shadow either. And I'm not going to pick the purples because I have a shadow that's kind of similar to this in my 50 Shades of Purple. And to me, this is a spring shade. But I'm leaning towards one of these two, maybe. I don't know, maybe not, because they feel like it's so similar to everything else I have. Maybe I should go with this bronzy shade. Everything's looking so same right now. Okay, yeah, I'm going to do that. It's going to be hard, but I'm going to try it. I think it was, okay. Let me explain. So I'm going with this one. And these don't have names. Each of these have 1 gram, it looks like. It's 8 grams total. So I decided to, here's that shade swatched. And it's kind of over a bit of a wet base because I had just wiped the shadows that I was swatching. So I had just wiped the shadows off. So it was over a bit of a wet base. So that's kind of what it would look like, a bit over a tacky base, right? And I think it will serve multi-purposes, right? So I think it looks great with Amhara and the shade from the Just Peachy Mattes palette. I think it looks great with the shade from the Urban Decay Cherry palette. It also really looks good with this green from the Urban Decay Spectrum palette. So I think that's going to be the shade I go with. This is not a color story that I would have normally like together have picked, but that's how we're ending up. It is what it is. I think these two would be really pretty together with the Viseart shadow. I need to come up with a look with those 3 together. That needs to happen. Anyway, that is the shade I'm going to bring in. So yeah, that's like the last, well, not the last, the last shade I would have brought in is this yellow. In case you want to see it swatched. If anybody was curious. I don't wear yellow. There you go. If you wanted to see it. And in case anybody else was interested in these other shades in here. And I don't know about this like gold. Okay. Enough playtime. All right, so that's the shade. It's a stainer. So that's the shade I'm pulling in from the Petite Pro II Soleil. Okay, let me take these off, and then I will show you how I'm doing on my little baby pan palette and the Modern Renaissance. So I don't know how long it's been since I've shown you my baby pan palette. I know I had hit pan on the lighter shade in here, but I'm not sure how much pan. So I'm going to, let me just show you what this looks like, and then I'll clean this because it's kind of looking gross. So here is how things are looking in this. Let me clean this up real fast. I almost have pan in the brown, but I haven't quite done it. My dip in that brown is looking really good. But you can see the dip in just, so this is just Gleaming and this is Snow Dusk. So just Gleaming is looking really nice. I have really been using this a lot in my inner corner and brow bone. And Snow Dusk, I mean, pan is like imminent. It's almost there. This is just a palette that it's a duo really from MAC, and I just work on this like haphazardly. Whenever I find a need for shadows like this, I use them. Like, am I going to hit pan by swatching it? No. They're beautiful shadows. Anyway, I am wearing just Gleaming in my inner corner today and on my brow bone. So I love this. And then for the Modern Renaissance, I panned this palette last year. And at this point, my goal is really just to finish this shadow down here, which is Love Letter. So this is how it's looking. Let me again clean this up because it's looking kind of gross. And by the way, I don't think I've shown this to you guys in a while. So take a makeup wipe. This one's a little dirty, but it doesn't matter. And put it over a loose powder or something with a flat base. And oh my gosh, if I can do this right. Holy moly. You know what? There we go. It's been a while since I've done this. I've forgotten how to hold the palette appropriately. There we go. Nice and clean. So like I said, the last time I showed this to you, I think I still had shadow in golden ochre and I had repressed it. So now that's finished. I did finish that off. And so the last shadow that I'm working on is Love Letter. So I have repressed it, as you can see, and I'm just working my way through it. And, you know, I use it, a lot of times I use it with Amhara. And once that's done, I'm calling this palette done. Because I really don't, you know, when I first purchased this, I was like, oh, I love this. Love this palette. But it's really too warm for my preferences. Other than the shadows that I've already panned, the rest of this is too warm for me. So once I finish Love Letter, I'm done. I'm done with this palette. So, yeah, we're getting close on Love Letter. I mean, there really is not much left in there. I say that, and I've literally been chipping away at this little bit that's in here for a while now. We'll see. We'll see how long it takes. Might as well give you a swatch of it. It's a really pretty shade. It was one of my favorites in this palette. But everything else in here is just not my jam. So I would not repurchase this palette. It's beautiful. But I think for me, like, there's some shades in here that I absolutely loved. I loved Buon Fresco, Antique Bronze, Cypress Umber, Vermeer. Loved all of those. But the rest of this, I didn't necessarily need. So I'm glad I panned it, but I wouldn't repurchase it. So anyway, that is Modern Renaissance. So that is my update for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you're doing well and staying safe. Please hit that subscribe button as I'm looking at my swatches. Please hit that subscribe button and I'll see y'all next time. Bye. So the first one is the Look at the fluff monster. Look at the fluff monster. Hi. Are you going to get up? You're not going to let me pet you? But you're so pretty. You're so handsome. Huh? You won't let me kiss you? You're purring. Well, you were for a second. Can I kiss you? Oh, yeah. Mommy gives good scritches. Mommy gives good scritches. Mm-hmm. Look at how handsome he is. You're so handsome, Milo. Bye.